channel.
Hey, you know what time it is?
What time is it, man?
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Beatdown, the segment where two worlds collide. I'm your host, Clyde. This is my co-host,
Mr. J. And guys, we would like to remind you that if you enjoy these videos or this content, go in the section below, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. And without further ado, what we're doing this episode based on Black History Month. We did a first episode on the male characters of the first of DC and Marvel, which was Black Panther and Black Lightning. But now we got a new episode, and this time it's actually going to be the other way around because Storm is kind of his Black Lightning. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So these are going to be the first DC Comics African American female and first Marvel Comics African American female. Yeah. So, do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll let you have it.
I got my work cut out for me today, guys. I'll be representing DC Comics Bumblebee.
You don't know what I can do.
Now, if you don't already know, this is a weird random fact, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyways. Bumblebee from Hasbro was actually doing a lawsuit from DC Comics Bumblebee because it was a copyright thing. But the funny thing is that Bumblebee showed up first. Like the DC comic female showed up first before actual Bumblebee. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. No.
So,
it was real. The lawsuit was really more due to toys.
Yep. It was a copyright thing. Yeah, it was a 2015. They got the copyright to the Bumblebee name that they were like, no, now we can do something. They got it at 2015, and they were like,
they were about to release the movie Bumblebee.
Yeah. How are you going to sleep
movie.
on that? How is DC going to sleep on that? Like, maybe we should get the copyrights before this movie comes out. Anyways, so let's talk about Bumblebee. It's interesting how her origin starts. Her origin story starts kind of weird. So her husband was it's
indecisive.
So in the beginning, her husband is in the Teen Titans. She feels like her husband's not being appreciated. I forget his name, the character's name, but she doesn't feel like he's being appreciated. So she decides to prove to the Teen Titans that he's worthy by attacking them. So she throws down with them. She manages to actually hold her own, and then she vanishes. Later on, she apologizes, because she realizes that she was wrong and that her husband was getting treated right in the team, and that she was just sadly mistaken. And she actually makes him a new suit, and she joins the team in the process. Now, here's the thing about Bumblebee. Bumblebee is not. She's, I guess, in the new comics, she's metahuman, but I don't really see. I see more like it's still her tech. Like she solely relies on her tech to be her strong suit in a fight.
Sometimes it's been written to where her abilities or her powers stem from like I said, the use of the tech.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones where she's a metahuman.
Yeah, so the metahuman thing, I mean, it's really not going to make a difference regardless, even if she is metahuman or with the suit, because we're talking about pretty much the god of thunder herself in the female form. So you can't really just go in toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano with her, even with the maybe super speed or just a little bit of speed or super strength. It's really not going to do anything against someone who can throw a tsunami at you.
It would help. It would definitely help.
I mean, you'll be able to hold your own, but I don't know how long you will. So let's get on to this. Bumblebee, she's got only a few things she can do in order to kind of give herself the upper advantage. Now, she's a scientist, so the science thing is going to come to a favor in this fight because clearly during a situation where she's fighting someone who can control the weather, she could adapt her engineering skills to switch her weaponry into whether it's hot or cold or whatever it needs to. She will be able to adapt it with her engineering skills and her science ability. So being able to know all the knowledge of science is kind of helpful because now you know how to kind of fight against somebody who can control the weather in that essence. I don't really know in the scientific form because I'm not a scientist myself, but I'm sure there's probably someone in the science community who's like, well, yeah, actually you could do this. So, but right now I can't really make that explanation or make that case. But that being said, she can actually shrink down the size to about 6 inches tall now, or 6 inches feet now, or 6 inches. I'm sorry. Now that's gonna come in handy because it's gonna when it comes to dodging in a fight, it's gonna come in handy because it's not gonna be easy to kind of aim your target at something much more smaller. Easier to take something that's regular size, but something a little bit more smaller is gonna be hard to aim and shoot at. So that kind of gives Bumblebee a defense in this fight. Now, let's see. Another thing is that Bumblebee is going to have to take this fight to a much more drier environment. Now, the thing about Storm is that she relies on the moisture in the air to conjure up the weather and conditions. So she has to rely on nature itself from certain parts of the other parts of the earth in order to control the weather. So that means that let's say she wants to go to the Amazonian rainforest, she has to rely on that weather condition to use the moisturizer from there in order to use her energy and use her powers in the way she needs to. So in a much more drier environment, it would give Bumblebee a chance to kind of hold her own and throw down, because Storm does need time to conjure this ability. And conjuring something like that, that's not just going to be instantaneously, that's going to take some time and a lot of energy, it's going to put a toll on a character. Now, Storm might be able to conjure it, and it might take some time, and it might drain her a little bit. But then after that, now needing to throw down with Bumblebee in that fight, while Bumblebee is doing the bobbing and weaving at a 6-inch height. Or 6 size height. I don't know what you want to call it. So I think that's where Bumblebee might be able to. Yeah, she's tight.
Is what he's getting.
Yeah, she's the size of an action figure. What do you call it? So she could pretty much be able to kind of counter maneuver her way for a while, and then maybe take the advantage while Storm is drained out and kind of worn out. Another thing is, and that's pretty much, this one's going to be the solid point. She's got the ground. Now, that's being about a size of a toy gives you the advantage to go into maybe a gopher hole. Now, a gopher hole might sound ridiculous, but hear me out. She gets into that gopher hole. Now she's got the ground to her favor. Now, it's a lot of defense. Storm can throw lightning. She can throw rain. She can throw all that stuff. But when the ground itself is leveled and protecting you from getting attacked by any of those things, it's kind of a little tricky to get around that. Now, here's where Bumblebee has to take that to her advantage. She could use the hole and create other multiple holes, different passages at a speed moments using her blast and everything like that, meaning that she can create different access points where she can get out from one end to another end. That's going to come in handy in this fight. Now, the reason I say that is because keeping the ground to her defense as far as getting attacked wise by lightning strike is going to come in handy. As far as the element of surprise, that's also going to come in handy. Bumblebee will be able to pop up at any hole that she comes out of and shoot Storm with one of those one of her little electrical bee stings powers. So I say this because her ability is much more stronger when she's smaller. When she's bigger, she still can hold her own, but when she's smaller, her abilities are much more advanced, much more enhanced. So she could blast her and shoot her a lot of ways where it might give Storm some difficulty. Storm does rely also on her emotions to control the weather. If she feels a form of, like, let's say, frustration or anger, that's going to affect the weather, which means that she's going to need to control herself and maintain control of the weather, which is also going to take a toll on her. A lot of that is going to come in handy. If Storm decides to go into that little hole or try to blast a hole into that hole and try to get in there, remember, Storm doesn't like being in small spaces. She's not going to go into a place or decide to blow up little holes here and there and figure out how to get in there. So she's not going to go into that environment. But as far as element of surprise, as far as taking her time, as far as creating enough to drain Storm, there might be a chance that Bumblebee might win this one.
Bumblebee out.
All right. Well, my contestant for today is Aurora Monroe, otherwise known as Storm, as he's mentioned. Now, once again, we've kind of covered Storm in the past, and we've given you the breakdown of what she can do. Once again, I'll try to run through it quicker. So, Storm has the ability to control the weather, as we all know. However, there's a big misconception with this, and she can actually do a couple things that I didn't even know she could do. Storm is not limited to Earth or the ground or just a normal atmosphere when she can do this. Apparently, Storm can control the weather in space. She can control the weather in different dimensions. Now that actually, in this fight could prove useful. Being out, like, I didn't know she could survive in the vacuum of space. Storm can breathe underwater. Another thing is she's extremely intelligent and she's highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Now, one time, Cyclops left the X-Men and decided, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. It's a big storyline. However, Storm, being second in command, took over. At the time, she didn't have her powers, and Cyclops fought her for basically leadership of the X-Men, which she won. She also beat Callisto for leadership of the Morlocks. And the reason I bring this up and why this is impressive, and a lot of people kind of dismiss this and they shouldn't, is because apparently Callisto she knows every form of martial arts there is, or every martial arts known to man or something like that, or she's an expert in every martial art.
Master.
Yeah. So Storm beat her. So one-on-one, hand-to-hand, I think Storm has this one in the bag. Another thing, she can control, it's not just lightning and in air, she can control plant life. She can control complete plant life over the entire Earth. Storm can cause storms, which pretty much encase the entire Earth. And she can do this from just about anywhere in the world. And all she needs to do is think of it. Another thing she can do is she can distort the electrical fields in your brain, causing a seizure. So that's another thing she can do. As soon as she sees Bumblebee, they just, give her a little seizure and just go over and just step on it. Another thing she can do is she can remove all the air from your lungs. I didn't know she could do that.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
If Bumblebee, basically, what I'm getting at is if Bumblebee's close enough to Storm, Storm can severely hurt this woman, or this superhero, however you want to say it. If she gets near Storm, it's going to be game over. I don't see Storm going into a hole to go try to find her. No, I think she'll just try to. She'll force her way out, whether that be causing a giant rainstorm to where this hole fills with water and forces her out. Something's going to happen to where Bumblebee is forced to come out into the open, and then Storm, whether she needs to use her hand-to-hand, the ability to remove the air. Honestly, the lightning bolt, I wasn't going to say wasn't my big defense. I want to say Storm's going to have to use the air. What I mean by that is, like he's mentioned already, one inconsistency with Bumblebee is there's been times where she has tech that makes her shrink. However, there was a brief point in the comics where she was permanently shrunk to that size.
Yeah.
Either way, in this fight, I see this being a huge disadvantage because, like I said, Storm can control the weather from just about anywhere in the world, anywhere in another dimension, anywhere in space. If Storm decides to throw a hurricane or a tornado or any one of those big natural disasters that has to do with wind, Bumblebee is screwed because a hurricane, a tornado, tsunami, whatever. These are all things that are perfectly capable of like throwing a car or something big and something heavy. Bumblebee only being about 6 inches or whatever, a foot tall if you want to give her a few more, whatever. It's not going to end well for her at all. Even if she's fully grown, a fully grown Bumblebee, Storm's just going to launch her into oblivion. I really just see this going Storm's favor. I don't see it going in Bumblebee's favor at all. Like I said, if she decides to shrink, go in the hole, Storm's going to force her out. Once she does that, if she has to fight her hand-to-hand, she will, and she's more than capable of doing so. But, like I said, my big defense is the wind. Tsunami, tornado, hurricane, whatever. anything that has a big force behind it, that's what Storm's going to need, and that's what she's going to use, and it's going to be Storm for the win.
Let the primal forces of nature continue to be unleashed.
Yeah, you guys already know. It's not up to me. It's not up to him. It's up to you guys. That's why we leave these open at the end. So if you thought that I made the most compelling argument, what you can do, drop your hashtag in the section below, put hashtag Storm. Now, if you think that my boy here made the compelling argument, you can hashtag
Bumblebee. And as always, no press fan, we really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.